you made a couple reference to restaurant spending. Is that one of the big?
It is.
Okay.
And I'm not against restaurants. I love good food.
Oh, me too.
One of my favorite sports is fine dining. So, but it's
Definitely.
but 80% of what you spend in a restaurant is entertainment. You can make the same meal at home for 20 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And so it is not necessary for nutrition. It is entertainment, and you don't go buy Broadway play tickets for $400 a piece when you're broke. You stay home and play cards. So you don't do entertainment when you're broke. That's expensive. And entertainment, and that's what eating out is. And Americans have moved, again, partly because both of them in the workplace, they both get home, they're tired, they don't feel like cooking. They don't feel like getting out the dadgum frying pan and doing something. But you can start eating from home. By the way, it's healthier in general to eat from home. And when you start looking at it, it will open your eyes what you're spending on out to eat, what you're spending on your car payment, out to eat, and on vacations when you're broke. Is those three things are what we find in a budget that we can change immediately, and it helps the math to make that turn real fast.
So it's car payments, eating out,
and vacations.
So you addressed eating out. Let's get to vacations. How much do people spend on vacations? I don't have numbers memorized. But I mean, it's your impression that that's a big spend.
Oh, we know it is. I mean, it's again, the $80,000 family. What a trip to Disney costs for 4 days is, what a trip to the beach for 5 days costs, and rent an Airbnb. And, you grew up different than I did, but I was never on an airplane until I was 15 years old. Air travel was not normal in my generation for middle class and lower middle class people. Air travel for almost every American is normal now. It's very normal for people to jump onto an airplane, and it costs a lot of money to buy an airline ticket. We're going to fly to New York. We're going to fly to Disney. We're going to fly to the beach. We're going to fly to Cancun or Cozumel or Cabo, and which is great. I'm not against doing those nice things. I do them. But you live like no one else so that later you can live and give like no one else. And so you look up and you go, we make 80 grand. We're dropping 7, 8, 9, 10 grand a year on a vacation, and then stuck with credit card debt. And then we can't figure out, Christmas, it surprised us. It's in December this year. Caught me off guard. And so, dadgum, what are we going to do now? Well, we got to put that on a credit card because we just used up what little money we had in the savings to go on this beach vacation during fall break. And there's this sense of waking up then in January after the holidays with a financial hangover, and the average American is paying on Christmas until May. And so, because they didn't have there's no Christmas club savings account at any local bank anymore, hardly. I mean, about 1% of Americans don't have a Christmas club account. Some people do save for Christmas, thank God. But
what's a Christmas club account?
It was a thing, again, 50s and 60s. It was a big deal, and it's just kind of deteriorated with some of the good banking practices. But the idea was in January you would open an account, a savings account that had Christmas written on the outside of it. It's called the Christmas Club, and you put enough in there, 1/12. So when December got here, you had the money to pay cash for your Christmas. And you'd take your little money down there, put your cash in at each payday, and like layaway. Remember layaway?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of concepts, except old ideas that have now died in a new digital world. And it's okay that they've died, but the idea behind them, I'm going to save up and pay for it, well, that's genius.
Car payments.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge expense for people.
Largest item we buy that goes down in value. And they go down in value like a rock. That's where Chevy gets that. They lose 70% of their value in the first 4 years. So you're going to lose $21,000 in 4 years on a $30,000 car purchase. You need to be making some money to lose $21,000. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to pay payments for the opportunity to lose $21,000 in value and pay extra interest and payments on that too. Oh, and there's insurance on that too. So what we have figured out is that it's horrible for me because I'm a car guy. I love cars. And man, driving junk cars for me when we were broke was the hardest. I mean, we already established I had the Jaguar when thought I was rich. And
what happened to the Jaguar, by the way?
It got sold 2 days before they repoed it. I got it sold. So it didn't get repoed, just barely. But, and obviously we had to write a check to get rid of it because we were upside down in it. But so if you'll drive like no one else later, you can drive like no one else. If you build some wealth, then you can afford to lose money on cars. But 100% of us that have anything with a motor in it or wheels, it goes down in value. Like I said, I said earlier, I've got boats. They go down in value. I've got cars. They go down in value. And that's in and of itself not evil. But when it is a large percentage of your income or your net worth that's going down in value, then of course you're going to be broke your whole life. So if your entire investment strategy is $30,000 cars instead of putting $30,000 in a 401k, you're going the wrong way. Or instead of saving up the money and getting a house, you're going the wrong way. House is going up in value. 401k is going up in value. Makes you a millionaire, like we said earlier. But no one buys cars to become a millionaire. Quite the opposite. So our rule of thumb is don't buy vehicles. Everything you own that has motors put it together in it should be less than half your annual income. And if it is, then you've got plenty of room. It's not going to destroy your net worth. But I talk to people making $80,000 that are driving $70,000 worth of cars.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's common.
And then they go, one more day, we're so stressed out. And I'm like, man, you're not going to do what I say, probably. But if you do what I say, I'm going to set you free. Let me help you with this. Here's your really good idea. Sell 2 cars. And the silence on the other end of the phone is deafening.
Well, if you sell your cars, how do you drive?
Well, you get two $2,000 cars with the payments from 1 month of not having $80,000 cars, right? Make $80,000, you got $70,000 worth of cars. Oh my God, there's no chance.
So just drive beaters
for a short period of time.
Yeah,
drive like no one else. So later you can drive like no one else. So after the Jaguar, we had no car, and a friend of mine helped me, I think. He helped me in a lot of ways, probably. He loaned me his 1978 Cadillac that had 478,000 miles on it. And it had, the predominant color was Bondo.
Oh, yeah.
And the vinyl roof across the top was broken, so when you drove, it filled up with air, so it looked like a parachute. A Bondo buggy with a parachute on top. So I went from Jaguar to Bondo buggy. I went from arrogant to humiliated, not just humble, but humiliated. I mean, cops would follow me in that car, right? What are you doing in this end of town? And so you stop at the stoplight and the top would settle, It's like going down. But you know what? I drove that car what felt like 10 years, 1 3-month period. And I saved up enough to buy a $2,000 car in 3 months because I wanted out of that thing. I gave that blessing back to my friend, right? And said, thank you very much. And got a $2,000 car. And then I saved up and got a $5,000 car.
What kind of car was it, the 2000? Do you remember?
It was some kind of like Chevy Impala.
Yeah.
It was ugly, but it was reliable and a lot nicer than the Bondo buggy. The difference in a $2,000 car and a $400 car is dramatic.
Yes, it is.
And the difference in a $2,000 and a $6,000 car is dramatic. The difference in a $6,000 and a $16,000 car is hardly discernible.
That's a good point.
And a $20,000 car and a $40,000 car, 90% of the people can't pick it without looking it up on the internet.
How rich do you have to be to buy new cars?
We tell folks to have $1 million net worth if you're going to buy brand new, because you take such a hit in the first 12 months.
I don't buy new cars ever.
I do, but I've got the money. So I'm not ashamed of that. But I wouldn't tell people to do that again until you've got at least a $1 million net worth.
Don't buy a new car unless you have $1 million net worth.
Buy a 1-year-old and let somebody else take the butt whipping on the depreciation. And again, the millionaires we're talking to, they're driving 3-year-old, 4-year-old Toyotas still. I kind of tell them, hey, you need to upgrade. Because I oftentimes find one driving a 93 Camry and, still. And they're $1.6 million. And I'm like, dude, buy your wife a car. Come on. That's awful. You're not proving anything at that point.
What about leasing cars?
Leasing's a method of financing on a car. And so a lease payment is basically a car payment. And
which is wiser? It's so confusing, the leasing.
Lease is the most expensive way to operate a vehicle.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Borrowing money at the bank is better, actually. Paying cash, obviously, is the only thing you should do, ever. I'll ride a bicycle before I had a car payment again. Knowing what I know now, with the data that I've got and the life I've lived, there's no way. And I'm a car guy, man. I like a muffler. I'm a redneck. I like a muffler running, I can hear it. I love something fast. But I'll ride a bicycle before I have a car payment. So a car fleece, we call them, is basically the math on it is you've got the MSRP, the manufacturer sticker price, right? And that's what the lease is based on. And you've got a monthly payment where you're renting the car. You're leasing the car. At the end of a closed-end lease, which 98% of the leases in America are closed-end leases, there's a buyout number. You can buy the car if you don't turn it in for that number. So you pay payments and the buyout number. And the buyout number might be $9,000 and you paid $30,000 for the car, whatever, something like that. And you got a 5-year lease. So you're paying payments for 5 years and then you get a buyout number. So it's much like the payoff on a car if you paid it off early. And so you can buy that car for $9,800 in our example here. And if you run it in a financial calculator, you put it in, you back it in, and you say, okay, my current value is of the car is the one number, the series of payments is the other number, and the end number is $9,800. We can ascertain that the average car lease in America is 14.2% interest rate. And it's not technically an interest rate, and it's not disclosed by truth in lending laws because it's not borrowing money. So you don't get the little sheet that says your APR that's mandatory by the federal government. If you buy something that has an interest rate on it, they have to give you that sheet, truth in lending. But you're not borrowing money, so you never know. The cost of capital is what it's called in lease, but it's a math formula that works exactly like interest. So you're borrowing money at 14% interest when you lease a car on average.
As compared to
8.
Oh, wow.
In today's world.
It's almost double.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a subprime rate.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.